A few things to set the stage. You might see me looking down at notes today or looking here or looking there. I'm a writer much more than a presenter, so I need to keep my eyes anchored to the story. Second, of course, please get your notebook and pen or your blank document on your computer. And here's our roadmap. Excuse me. We're going to start with why you want to tell a story and how to do it. And then in the middle of our session, we're going to take about 15 minutes of quiet time to write the outline of your leadership story that you feel called to live out today. Ready to go over the threshold, which is another thing I love as part of the heroic journey, which is one of the story arcs we'll be working with. So here we go over the threshold. We're here to explore how telling a story helps you play the part you were born to play. And to give you immediate context, I'm going to share my own story using the heroic creative journey steps that you see that will start to come up here on the slide. When I was born in 1955, my parents already had two sons. The oldest was Philip, and he was 10 years older than me and mentally disabled. And when he was a toddler, doctors told my parents to institutionalize him and forget they ever had him. And that was, it wasn't like a horror movie, although it was for my parents, but it's just the best society had to offer at the time. My parents refused and they kept him at home. And so from birth, 10 years later, I was growing up in his shadow. And just by growing up with him around, I embarked on a journey to explore unfamiliar territories that were not usually open to a little girl. I saw Phil and my parents run up against rigid limits. There was no school for him. There were no friends for him. There was no jobs. But yet over my lifetime, I saw how they pushed those limits and they shaped new ones. And all the time, Phil was living within cognitive boundaries that I easily surpassed. I always think about how I got my driver's license, no problem. And they never even thought of asking him. Along the way, we met bystanders who stared at us with pity or disdain, but we also met brave, kind people who were inclusive, and there were so many everyday heroes that showed me a different way to live a life. So to make sense of this landscape, I spent decades studying writing, psychology. I earned my master's. I even got a martial arts black belt trying to figure out how to be courageous. I learned even more creating my own family, and I supported the one I was born into after my parents passed away, navigating Phil's care until he passed away. So along the way, I connected to a truth that can transform lives, and I hope will mean something great to you. And that is that courage and creativity are two sides of the same coin. And courage is not just for strong men. It's simply when a human being reaches high. And creativity isn't just for artists. It's simply digging deep to make something new. And I tell you, even the most humble among us are born holding this coin. So I manifested this truth into an insight and into a process model I use to navigate my life, and I use to coach others to see the hero within. And today, I am going to share this insight with you. Why? Because our world, like Nicole was saying, our world doesn't flourish under one dominant strongman. It needs now especially a collective wave of emerging heroes who are ready to champion change. And I know from experience and from watching others, the more we claim our personal creativity and courage, the more the world heals. And on we go. I'm going to breathe. It's a good thing to do. I like this 5-point star arc that we've talked about because it takes courage and courage takes creativity. They both need each other. And the other thing is you are already using these steps time and time again as you create your life. I mean, we could put it in context of you even showing up today. You are an experienced, creative, and heroic being. Does anybody have any reaction to being called creative and heroic? And if you do, drop it in the chat. Because we're going to talk more about these qualities in the coming slides that I really want you to feel like they speak to you, especially as a leader. Our purpose today is to explore this story framework and two others, and they're going to help you write your own leadership story. Any questions before we go on? Everybody with me? Okay. Here's your pencil and paper time. I want everyone to answer 3 quick questions before we get into narrative theory. Don't overthink, just write down your first thought. It's only 10, 20 seconds on each one. Question number 1. Where in your leadership or your practice are you stepping into visibility right now, and why does that matter to you? Excuse me. Question number 2. From where you are now, what do you perceive your role becoming in that space? Probably these are aligned a lot like with Nicole's questions.
It's like we planned it.
Yeah. Might just be a chance to underline your notes. Question number 3, and this is really salient to this particular part of the presentation. Are you actively becoming the person who owns that role, or are you passively or unconsciously living out a story that a stakeholder or a past boss or anybody else handed to you? Okay, let's go on. We'll keep those answers and we'll use them soon. Who tells the story matters. And if you aren't holding the pen, someone else is writing your story. And this is one of the 4 pillars of creative leadership that Tiffany talked about in her Waymaker book. This is also an opportunity for you to ramp up your impact as a leader, because today you're going to take back the pen. Especially if you've been letting somebody run you unconsciously or whatever. Oh, there's Tiffany. She's got her pen. Thank you, Tiffany. The first step in taking back the pen is choosing to be your own hero. You are one just by being born, and that's not me talking. That's psychologists throughout the history of psychology talking about being born as it's in itself a creative act. So don't wait for someone else to write your role. You can choose to be the creative you were born to be. Yes, it's true we play parts in other stories, and it's beautiful to belong to something bigger than ourselves, but you don't want to play a created role. It's like focusing on a single patch of hide in the elephant, and you miss the majesty of the whole elephant. In the state of being creative, we strive to see the whole elephant. We keep looking until we see the whole elephant. And when you're leading something new, you need a new story. You don't want to execute the old script. You want to start creating a new one. You use your story to invite others to be creative and not created and executing. You have to lead them out of comfort zone into curiosity zone. And one of the things that Tiffany said in her book that I thought was interesting is, if you face resistance, remember, others might just be stuck seeing only the tail or the trunk of the elephant. It's a clue. Hearing no is a clue that you're on a leading edge. You're standing where others can't see the full picture. So you have to use your story to invite them into being creative, and you lead them out of your comfort zone and out of their comfort zone into curiosity. That's where things get done. So how do we move from being a created member to a creative leader? You have to be willing to tread new ground, and you have to change your line of sight, to look at the big picture. When we change what we look at, we begin to extract common meaning out of the noise, and common meaning points our action forward, and it shifts our collective focus away from the past constraints and directly toward future possibilities. And as the creative leader, you keep sharpening that lens as you learn new things along the way. And that's what Tiffany did in writing her book, when she was inspired by her nature guide in the outback. These creative and courageous capabilities, they're native to you. So story is an inner compass we use every day of our life. Destructive or static experiences, they happen in life, it's true, but those tales are at best cautionary and at worst they victimize people. So stories serve best when they're generative. They're generative and new. Any questions? Okay. Every story needs a hero, and we've been through these steps, and there's the threshold again. The thing is, to be generative, that story needs a hero, and the journey is from moving from the ordinary world into an extraordinary new world. And conventional corporate culture, in my humble opinion, wants us to believe that being a leadership hero is about mapping a flawless route, conquering a monster goal, and controlling every variable. But modern neuroscience tells us different. Generative innovation does not come from brute force, it comes from psychological safety, curiosity, and deep empathy. And from that lens, this arc unfolds. You embark to step out of your comfort zone and you step over the threshold of the familiar to become something new, like you did when you looked at yourself a year from now in Nicole's work. During that time, as you're moving toward your year from now, you're going to be exploring in the space of active discovery. Everything's going to look different here because you have a new lens. But if you stay curious about that landscape and compassionate about the stress of change that you're going under, or that the people that you're leading are going under, you can safely guide your team through any highly uncertain territory. And then eventually you will connect somewhere in that year before you reach your intention. You will connect where the big vision you've seen finally really comes into focus. And that's a pivot point, because even though you see the destination, there are still steps to go, and there are zero guarantees it will go as planned. But that's not failure, it's progress. And manifest is where the gift of the journey is finally in your hands. And share is an addition for our times. It's not part of the original heroic myth, but it is now, because the hero today comes back to their community and their organization to share the generative difference. You share the gift to shape your organization and your community in positive ways. If you think back to my story that I shared, I followed this exact heroic path, but this is just one framework, and there are many others you can use to build your narrative. So let's look at the 3 distinct lenses you can use, and let's see which one calls you to tell your own story. There are 3 that we're going to explore over the next few minutes. As we look at them, please recall the core reflection questions you answered at the very beginning. Each question aligns with one of these paths, and that could help be a guide to identify which specific lens you want to use to author your own leadership story today. Once we take a brief look at how each framework operates, we'll open up a 15-minute creative window for you to put pen to paper, and then we'll gather back to share the gifts of our work with the group. So let's take a look at our very first option, the purpose lens, which aligns with where in your leadership or your practice are you stepping into visibility right now, and why does that matter to you? It's the golden circle, Simon Sinek's golden circle. Excuse me. It's very straightforward. It has a massive traction out there for a reason. It's just simply why, how, and what. And it tells us to look inward for our purpose before we build. And that clearly calls you into being an active creative rather than the created, as we talked about earlier. But it's time to update this circle from the traditional static bullseye, because heroism these days is not a solitary act. In reality, once you share your project out into the world, your clients, your colleagues, and your allies, they step into the frame to be part of your collective heroic journey. And that's why I agree with others that we need this 4th circle, a semicircle that's indicated by this continuous orange loop, and it's called the collective why. It's where continuous improvement lives, as well as our impact on others. So I'm going to use Patagonia as an example. They famously adopted this model years ago, and we'll update it with this second collective why. So the first why and purpose is, their purpose is, we are in business to save our home planet. and they walk the talk. Were the first California company to sign up for B certification in 2012 when it became available. B Corps must have an explicit social or environmental mission, and they're bound by law to address the interests of workers, the community, and the environment, as well as shareholders. And I find that so refreshing today. Their how is action, radical transparency in their supply chains, lifetime repair guarantees, and they'll sell your used gear through their worn wear program. And they also donate 1% of sales to environmental causes. Their what is that they sell outdoor clothing and gear. But then over the years, you can see the collective why. It becomes a virtuous circle. And first, people buy Patagonia's product, and then they go outside and they build a stronger relationship with nature. They care more about the planet, and that grows the why. And second, Patagonia continues to listen to customers and employees to bring what the customer wants to life, which is renewal of the how, or virtuous circle. And third, they refresh and modify their product and practices to make sure they're still being true to their original vision, or what. So if you like the idea of why, how, what, and the idea of a continuous ramp up in a virtuous circle, this might be for you. The second lens is a fun one, I think. It's the Pixar story spine, and each action triggers an event. You'll see this if you go back and look at Toy Story or Finding Nemo, all of your favorite stories that they put out or their people put out. But you'll see they also center around a hero, either a hero person or a hero product. And this aligns with question 2 from the beginning. From where you are now, what do you perceive your role becoming in that space? And I want you to hear how this momentum comes into a story about this farmer in Peru. Once upon a time, Roberto lived on a small farm in Peru with 3 generations of his family, and they grew plantains, yucca, and other seasonal crops. Every day, they grew just enough to get by. The animals in the rainforest often ate more of their crops than the family did, and the work was backbreaking with little to show for it. Seasonal crops sold at low prices in a crowded market. Until one day, Roberto heard a charitable organization pitch the idea of becoming a cacao farmer. Because of that, Roberto saw a chance to change his fate. It was a big risk for a family with so little margin for error, but because of that, he stepped up to plant cacao trees, even though they take years to mature. Because of that, he and his neighbors spent those 3 years working with the NGO to build a cacao cooperative and connecting them with buyers across Peru and beyond. Until finally, in 2024, Roberto sold his first batch of cacao through the cooperative. And ever since then, Roberto looks at those cacao trees every day, knowing they'll keep producing for years and give his family a better life. So that's a fun one. It might be you. And then the hero's journey, which we've already been over a little bit, is an ancient framework used worldwide because it speaks to challenging the status quo and stepping into the unknown, over the threshold into the unknown. When I studied this in my master's work, I found that the traditional models were very male-centric and they were bloated with complicated steps. So I realized that, as I said earlier, and I'll repeat it for the sake of our work, courage, this outward strength, and creativity, inward depth, are 2 sides of the same coin, and one reaches high, courage reaches high, and creativity digs deep, and they require each other. So that's why the 5 milestones are shared between both the processes, the creative process and the heroic journey. It's to embark, explore, connect, manifest, and share. And here's what it looks like in action with a story. In 2005, fresh out of high school, 18-year-old Maggie Doyne embarked on a gap year, just a gap year, a little 18-year-old girl. In India, she met Top Mala, a young man who grew up as an orphan in Nepal, and he invited her to his home village. And while exploring the village, Maggie met a 7-year-old girl named Hema, who was breaking stones in a dry riverbed just to earn a few dollars. And despite all this labor, Hema smiled and looked at Maggie, saying, "Namaste, Didi," which just means hello, sister. And Maggie felt a calling. She took action. She paid for Hima's school tuition, and then she helped a few more children. But she quickly realized the children needed more than intuition. She connected deeply with their need for safety and a true family. She used $5,000 of her own babysitting money, and she partnered with Tope and the local community to manifest a new reality. In 2007, they opened the Copila Valley Children's Home, and she started with 45 children, all who wanted to call her mom, and do call her mom still to this day. Over the past 20 years, she shared this transformational gift with thousands of people in this school. She was named CNN Hero of the Year in 2015. What started with a little girl in a riverbed is now a sustainable community ecosystem. Blink Now is her organization, and they built this 4-story children's village. It was a school, a safe home for at-risk women, a farming program, and a medical clinic. And today, Maggie, Tope, and a team of 175 locals work together to heal the root causes of poverty. And her hero story did not rely on superhuman strength to fight some mythic monster. Instead, she used courage to be curious, empathy to connect, and creativity to write a completely new story for herself and more than now 450 children who call her mom. So this aligns with the question 3 from the beginning. Are you actively becoming the person who owns that role, or passively living out a story that a stakeholder or a past boss or life handed you? Okay, that's it. Any questions before we take some time to write? I think at one point we thought you might want to go off camera to write, but I wonder how you would hear that we're back. Were you gonna put music on, Tiffany, or were we gonna keep it quiet?
Yes. We can make one breakout room. So if you just want quiet to sit and write your story, take a screenshot of the slide and join in the breakout room. If you want music in the background, still take a screenshot of the slide so you have your framework for the story, and I'll play some music for you.
And we'll be here in this room. I'll be here in this room in case you want to ask questions. Message me in the chat, and we'll see how the room works. The presentation room works, and we'll maybe talk even. Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't want to go into the breakout room for the quiet of that moment, just decline the breakout room. And don't forget to take a screenshot, and I'll get you some music.
Okay, we've got about 4 or 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Um, so right now, how would I describe where I'm at right now with the ordinary practice?
I well, the fact that you think there's a bigger vision for your coaching practice, but you can't quite see it, means that you know where you're at.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess I'm at just getting started. I have 2 to 3 clients. Um, and I think I s- I see it being like a lot, like impacting more people.
Okay, and so the bigger vision, the vision is to grow. Then is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, the vision is to grow, but also kind of to like I almost feel like it hasn't fully formed yet, like even to be the ordinary practice. I've been having trouble telling my story from the beginning, honestly.
Well, that just means that you're still exploring, right?
Okay.
In terms of, and you've chosen the golden circle, right?
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. Um, that that is a very simple framework, but I find it's also very difficult because if you're still exploring, so you might want to consider trying on hats there, like
Trying a
like
which one?
so you don't have to come up with the absolute why. You can experiment with the why
Oh, okay. Okay.
and see, what belief. The why is what you believe that you're offering. Like Patagonia is in business to support the environment. It's like, that's why you exist. Why are you
Okay.
why you exist? And you can try on different things. Like I might try on, I exist to be a musician.
Ah.
I exist to uh, earlier I was with when Nicole was doing her meditation, I saw myself as a compass.
Oh. And so we're
So,
saying why I exist as a person, not as like the business or the coach entity.
well, sure. I mean, that's part of you, right? Are you the person that was talking about parts earlier? Somebody
I
was
think
talking about
so.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
So you have different parts of yourself, and they can either get together and be one thing, or you can experiment with having one of them be leader.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So I guess mm,
I wrote my story with the golden circle. Would it help if or I outlined my story with the golden circle? Would it help to hear what I wrote?
that might help.
Okay. Um, Actually, it's probably more clear if I talk about what I did last year versus what I'm looking to do. But I wrote my why as I wanted to empower people because that's what I saw was necessary in the future. So anything I did was for empowering. How I did that was through encouraging a collaborative culture. So different things that I did, like making committees, having people make decisions that were at least two other people had would come into input, so that we weren't doing the siloed thing or think we had to do it by ourselves or try to do it all ourselves. So that kind of goes into the how and the what. And then my collective why for last year was, because my theme was better together. So the collaboration, it wasn't just the team that was collaborating that needed to be the bigger why, like us and the members. So that's how I saw it fitting into the golden circle.
Hmm. Okay.
Does that
Okay. Hmm.
help or make it muddier?
I don't know. I think I'm making myself stuck for some reason. I'm making it harder than it has to be. Um, but I think, well, I guess if I'm experimenting with the why, one why could be like to help people find their own self-love and self-belief and like, be their authentic selves. That could be the why. Does that sound like a why?
Does it feel like a why?
I mean, I like my life now that I've found self-love.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
powerful.
that is.
So,
Is that why so you're saying I exist? I'm sorry, I was chatting with somebody else about their story as well. So is that what you exist to further self love?
or I get, yeah, that's the why.
Hmm.
To help people step into their own loving themselves.
Yes, that could be a why.
Mm. Sometimes with the coaching, I'm like, well, I'm not really here to tell people what to do. So if you want that, then, like I find it hard to say, oh, I'm here because uh it's like I enjoy coaching people. I enjoy the discovery. I enjoy like the connection and the process and being in that coaching relationship with someone. But I don't know if I have like a greater impact or reasoning beyond that. I just like it.
Well, that's pretty important for a hero. A hero is on a journey to do what they feel called to do.
Okay.
And if that's it, I mean, look at Maggie, the person that made the orphanage. She just felt called to be people's mom.
Yeah.
That sounds small, sort of in our culture. We don't appreciate that very much, but look what a difference she's made.
Yeah. Hmm.
I just gave the breakout rooms 2-minute warning in
That's
case that
great.
helps.
Thank you. Yeah, because yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. I guess, do you think I should try a different story? Do you think that's maybe the part of it?
That
Like,
could very well be part of it. I find that why the golden circle seems simple, but it's hard.
yeah.
And
And
the story spine is the story spine might be a good one for you because you might have a vision of where you want to go, but a vision of where you are,
uh-huh.
and then also it's just adding sentence upon sentence until you get where you want to go.
Okay. And the once upon a time is like when things in my life were not as great, or
Oh no, I might say
or
like right now it's once upon a time. There was a person named Alana who believed self love was the most important thing about being a human.
okay. Every day.
She blah 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 blah. That's the ordinary, right? That's every day. She
Oh,
she tried
she
to be
just
a better.
lived it
Tried to,
herself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every day she lived it herself, and whatever else happens every day right now
Ah, okay.
until one day something changes. Adds to
Um,
it. I shouldn't say changes as much as it adds to where it adds to you step over a threshold until one day something happens.
I guess I could say until one day I worked with somebody else and was able to see their transformation journey.
Hmm.
Um, and because of that, I was excited.
Hmm.
Because of that, I felt like I could impact more people.
Yes.
And then, or because of that, I realized people might actually want help with this.
Yes.
And then because of that,
Yes.
I realized that I could help people or that I could make a bigger impact. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And you
And
can
then,
have as many because of that's as you need.
okay. And then what's the until finally?
That's where you live into where you're going until finally you are that thing that has become
Ah,
you are or it is something new is in Woody becomes more than a toy in Toy Story, right?
mm-hmm.
It's a process because of that.
And so that part might be the part that I don't see yet. Like until finally,
Mm-hmm.
who knows what
Mm-hmm.
my coaching journey will become.
But it can be your hope. It can be your hope and your plan and your intention, right?
Okay. Ah, the intention.
Ever
Okay.
since then you're in this new state.
Ever since then, she's helped thousands,
Yeah.
thousands of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So maybe it's the moment, maybe I start do the story spine. That and then where do we use this story?
Well, you can use it, but you can use it you use it for yourself because it tells you who you are. It's right. It's your story. It's your story.
Mm.
Right now, my story, I told you all about my brother. I mean, I have many stories in my life, right? But that's the one I'm living now. I've got a book
Mm.
and I wrote a book to, you know, sing, sing the praises of this man that taught me, was my greatest teacher, even though he's, you know, cognitively disabled. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm living, the story I'm living now.
Yeah.
But I could
Okay.
live another story in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. That was really helpful.
Good. Is everybody back, Tiffany? Oh, you're on mute, I think, Tiffany.
Yeah, I'm muted. I closed the room,
Okay.
so we should have everybody back.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. Um, it's time to share those gifts. Now, we've been hearing from Alana, and she's been working on which story she tried the golden circle, and it didn't work for her. And so then she's switching to Story Spine. Is there anybody else that would be willing to share what they, and Tiffany shared, but maybe you have to share again now that everybody's back? And if there's anybody else, would you please come on camera and unmute and volunteer your story?
I believe Deborah might want to share.
Oh, good.
Now, I wasn't volunteering to share at this moment. My camera was disabled.
Oh,
I'm happy to share what I created with the help of AI.
Ah,
thank you, Carrie.
I
Thank you,
put my
Carrie.
notes in and I'm happy to share sort of what it helped me create if that's helpful.
Yeah, if you like it, if you like what it said.
I do. I think I've been going back and forth with it. So I can share with you where we are and then
Right.
we
It's
can,
a work in progress, right? And as you and I talked about offline, you have to make sure that, you know, you don't just accept the
but
input of the person, the chat GPT you're leading because you're
yeah.
the leader. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I did the Pixar, and it says, once upon a time, there was a woman who was very good at being the person everyone could count on, and eventually realized that competence, which I would change, I think, was both her superpower and her hiding place. Which, yeah. Every day I solved complicated problems, helped teams navigate change, and became the person others could count on to bring clarity when things felt messy. Until one day I realized that being good at the work was no longer enough. I wanted my work and my life to feel more intentional. I wanted to help leaders grow, not simply help organizations get more done. Because of that, I stepped away from the identity of a traditional career and started my own coaching and consulting company. I like that, but I might switch the wording. But anyway, because of that, so I started my own company. Because of that, I had to become a beginner again. I had to learn how to trust my own voice, describe the value I create, and ask people to invest in my work. And keep moving even when I couldn't see the entire path ahead. Because of that, I discovered that my greatest contribution isn't having all the answers. It isn't helping people see patterns they couldn't see before. It is helping people see the patterns they couldn't see before and to create clarity from complexity. Until finally, and become more courageous and intentional about how they lead, because that's a core part of my tagline for my business. Anyway, until finally I began to understand that I wasn't simply building a business, I was creating a body of work and a way of living that reflects who I am and the impact I want to have. Ever since then, I have been learning to define success differently, not by how much I accomplish, but by whether the work matters, whether people grow, and whether I am building a life in which I can lead boldly, grow intentionally, and truly thrive. That's my lead, grow, thrive. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Snaps. That's great. Yeah. How does it feel for you to hear?
It felt good. I mean, I was like, oh, that's like some of the words that ChatGPT came up with. I was like, oh, I really like that. And then some of the words like
Yeah.
competence or whatever, I was like, oh, I wouldn't use that word. So we've been, going back and forth. But it felt good. I was like, ooh, it synthesized my thinking and my kind of free flow. Like we said when we journal, is just sort of free flow, put it all out there, and then help me synthesize this using the formula. And that was super helpful because I think I have ideas in my head, but I couldn't organize them. I couldn't visually see how to organize them.
Yeah. It felt like a real story to me. It
Yes.
felt,
Yeah, very much me. Yeah.
yeah. It felt like satisfying, and it felt like I felt glad for you, the hero in that story. I felt glad for you. Does anybody else have any feedback for Carrie? Well, thank you for showing us the story spine. Anybody else want to share anything? Of course, it's a work in progress. It's a lifelong project. And as I was saying, when you might have been in a breakout room, I know that for myself, and I'm sure I know this is true for you all, that we all hold many stories, right? It's the one that you want to live out at the moment. And in this case, we're working on the leadership story, right? Deborah, you didn't want to share, or
I can I did the story spine and I stayed very top line and I noticed it didn't start to drop deep till the end, but I literally used every phrase. I can go really quick. Again, it's super top line and then just went deeper at the end. But once upon a time, Deborah was born in Decatur, Illinois. Every day she spent a great deal of time with her family, sharing special meals, fun activities, going to school and church. Until one day she moved to Chicago. Because of that, she moved to Los Angeles. Because of that, she met wonderful people and engaged in fun work, creating a great life, traveling the world and meeting wonderful people. Until finally, she started leadership coaching. She continued to realize how very, very fortunate she has been. Ever since then, she has sought out ways to use her unique gifts and opportunities to shine a light for others and help them choose bigger life. So I'm listening to what other people are doing, and I'll just be quiet. That's what I had to share.
I love that bigger life stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the fact that you went back to the beginning. I mean, that's a life. You're telling us the story of your life, and I really appreciate knowing that about you. And how the places you've been has really informed what you have to say. It sounds like, because you mentioned Chicago, you mentioned LA, you mentioned Decatur, and all that. Is there
If I
anybody?
could,
Party, go ahead. Yes, Tiffany, please.
I was just going to say what I noticed when Deborah shared her story. It was like everything opened up when she went to, I think you said LA.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this location, this location. There's this pivot point that shows up in the story where everything opens up, which I think the story spine allows that to be more clear and to be showcased. What I think that's interesting. There's usually that moment where it really opens up. And so it opened up for Deborah with the travel and then some. And then it's opening up with the other stories. So that's the thing I'm finding interesting about the story spine method.
Yeah. Um,
Interesting.
maybe
Thanks.
HP, you had said earlier that you were getting ready for an opportunity to be a leader in the future. I was wondering if you might want to share your work. Okay, I guess we're done with that.
Uh, and HP, if you're not really HP and you would like to change the name to what your name is, please do that too.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, as I said before, this is a lifelong project, and so please we're all in formation all the time, and it's amazing what you have to offer when you decide to go over the threshold and explore something new and then become something new. So continue to hold the pen and trust your allies and actively write the future that you intend to guide. And the more, and this is really true now, heroes are simple people now. They're simple people with empathy and creativity and courage that they own. So the more you own that, the more this world will heal. I'm sure of it. And as we wrap up, I'd like to invite you to follow me on Substack. I explore creativity and courage, and I plan soon to I'm going to publish my book by doing it on Substack. It's called Wonderful. It's my brother's name. Wonderful, The Gift of Brotherly Love. It's about his impact on me and the world. And I also dream of having a writing group of other contributors that might want to share on the blog, even more stories about everyday heroes that you might have. So if you'd like to read either the chapters of Wonderful or be a guest author or form a writing group with me, please connect with me at gail@gailwhipple.com. Just email me your interest, or you can make a free subscription to my Substack and then we'll be connected.